welcome everyone to another episode of Supernormal Film Society. And today, again, we have another esteemed guest, Karabo Lediga. Very excited to have her. If you can see the excitement on my face already, my beard is hiding quite a lot of it, but it's quite, I'm blushing a little bit. But thanks, Karabo, as well, for making the time to join us. Do you mind as well just introducing yourself to our listeners and audience?
My name is Karabo Lediga. I'm a South African television writer and director, but also now making cinema. Also sometimes a performer.
She does amazing work. You might have seen her work in Queen Sono, Sabbatical, and a few other shows and films. Beautiful work, really admirable and inspirational stuff. So today, I just wanted to start off right at the beginning. Carol, why film? Why writing for film or screen specifically?
It's a difficult question, but I think when I think about it, there was always kind of a love for storytelling. Um, in childhood, it's really fun to tell stories and have fantasies, So I guess as you grow, you feel like you grow further and further away from imagination. I feel like I didn't want to grow up. I'm like a Peter Pan type person. So I try to find a way to keep telling stories. I was going to do mechanical engineering. So I did that for a year. That didn't work out. So my brother and my mother said, but you've always told stories. I didn't know that, you could keep doing it and keep playing into adulthood. But they kind of gave me the freedom and my brother particularly access into, imagination. So yeah, I guess it's like a childhood love that I grew up with and kind of kept into adulthood.
Yeah, that sounds very fascinating because it sounds like it's as much as it's coming from within you and it's you're inspired to take this journey, but at the same time, it seems like there was a lot of support and a little bit of a push from the family. Can you explain how that sort of works in your writing? Do you have maybe references to certain things that happen in your real life or with your family and things like that, experiences that you translate to that? Or is it more, are you more one of those writers who go out and actually like do, they method, they study, certain people and then they try to get into their lives? Or does it mostly come from within, or is it a combination of lived experiences and observational sort of, of other people's lives?
Being started as a TV writer because I started in the comedy room, so in the comedy brainstorm room, and we started with. I was very young when Pure Monate was on, but I worked in the writers' room then, and at the time, a lot of the comedians slash writers had other day jobs. We had an accountant, we had a doctor, as we had like a banker. So it was a mixed match of people. But what I learned and what we all kind of understood is that we all bring our things to the room, right? And if you're going to make fun of a nation, how great would it be to have all sorts of the nation to be in a room? So automatically as a writer in a TV writing room or comedy writing room, you bring yourself because that's the only kind of unique thing really that you bring, Because a lot of storytellers will tell you there's only kind of a certain amount of stories you can tell, but the uniqueness of it is your coloring and your background. So I always bring myself into it, But like I said, as a TV writer, you have to find yourself in other people's stories, I've done prison drama, I've done spy drama, I've done, all sorts of things, like a mayor comedy. So what I do is do both. So I put myself, and in order for it to matter to me, I really have to find myself in it. If it's like some rubbish, I can't go on, if like it's not portraying blackness in a fair way, or if it's stereotypical, if it's like ham comedy, like I struggle, I can't write any longer. So myself and my being and my coloring is really important to the process. Although, yeah, it's a sharing. There's always the room. I love the room, but also as a singular kind of voice filmmaker, which I've become, a lot of that stuff is very personal. My short film is personal. My feature film is personal only because I'm most times the only one in the room, which I like, but yeah. So it's a combination of all of it, but the self is always there for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really insightful. And also you touched on some things as well as I'm also very passionate about, besides of course mentioning most people, which I also, it was a miss on me to not mention in the beginning, because I mean this is one of my favorite, I mean Pure Monate show is a South African standard. Forget South Africans, an African international standard, because there's nothing like it. I don't think there will be anything like it in the future, because it's a product of its time and a very important one as well. A document, a standard. It is amazing. Inspired a lot of us when we were very young. So yeah, that's something that is really important. But you also touched on something about blackness and representation of that. That's something I also feel very passionate about. To avoid stereotypes, to understand, to have stories or have retellings or representation that shows that blackness is not homogeneous. It's like a whole. It's rich. There's so many layers in it, and there's so many different types of stories that could be told, just like in any other sort of demographic or race. I think this we always have to preach, but somehow people always forget. We have to always remind them, listen, we are just like any other race. We are just as intricate, rich, nuanced, all the time. So that's something I really gravitate towards, and I really love. And actually, it does show in your work, from Pure Monati to all the other stuff that you have done. And actually, when you mentioned, I'm not a writer per se. Why am I saying per se? I'm not a writer. Period. I'm not a writer. Period. I've seen, sort of like documentaries. I've read articles of how difficult it is to be on the floor, especially on the writer's room when it's time to write comedy specifically, because that seems to be quite a challenging. That's like where you can really cut your teeth in actually writing. So the fact that, would you agree with that sentiment that actually of all the types of, not putting any other type of
Mhm.
course, writing for any other uh, medium or genre, would you say that it's a bit more challenging writing for comedy than any? Because you've done film, you've done
Mhm.
drama, you've done all these different types of writing as well. Would you consider comedy to be the one that you need to at least go through to feel, that pressure, that cutting your teeth in terms of
Um,
writing
yeah,
for screen?
I think it's very interesting having started in it, because I feel like if I had arrived to it well into my career, I might be like, "You, this is hard." But I was always around people. In all my interviews, I keep mentioning my brother because he's quite, he's my real mentor, really, because I didn't really have anybody, that I thought was cool and to follow, to follow. But yeah, so he's also comes from the approach of innovation, so we didn't emulate. Of course, we did emulate because we knew about Saturday Night Live, we knew about In Living Color, we knew about the British, we knew about Monty Python. We knew all about it, but we knew that the vocabulary didn't exist. We knew that for sure, and we knew that what we had seen in terms of comedy in this country wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't true to us, yeah, to South Africa at the time. So a lot of it is like
Absolutely.
making it up as you go. Yeah, making it up as you go. So there's a little bit of arrogance in saying we didn't learn, we just did, and then we learned as we did. And then that vocabulary innately or automatically, it was just comedy. We're just taking the piss and, we're innovating. So I have a huge respect for comedy, but I also have a way with it that's kind of entrenched now that I can't kind of separate myself from. So it's hard, but I can do it now. So yeah, the idea of comedy being difficult to write above all genres, I have a little bit of an arrogance about it because I do think it's a very difficult genre, but how I came upon it was through innovation. I started working in the writers' room. I had done other work, well, but in television, I started working in the Pure Manati show writers' room. And the writers' room kind of consisted of a whole lot of people who didn't have any experience in TV writing or performing, the creator itself, my brother, this was his first show. I think he pitched it 23 or something. And I think when he got the contract, he was like 24.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Wow, because I mean, I would not have thought that would have been your first, yeah, first
Yeah.
show.
Before that
Great.
was at Fat Joe, where he cut his
Oh,
teeth.
oh
Yeah.
man.
It was a
We just got bangers. You know what, Karabo? We need a few episodes with you, actually,
same here
Karabo.
and
That
that's
was right. Oh my God, Fedjo, you go back to the Fedjo? Yeah, no, man.
yeah. And remember
Oh,
they were also doing sketch writing a lot. It was like so I think, the pure Monate show idea was also kind of encouraged by that.
yeah. The
So
other man era leading
yeah, that
to.
era, exactly. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
amazing. I didn't even know there was a connection, but of course it makes sense. Of course, yeah.
I don't want
The
to
connection.
talk too much about, but Dada Man and Gafiso, we grew up in Soshanguve together. So we knew Dada Man from the hood. So by the time, yeah, he was famous in another way, but yeah, it was like all Soshanguve stuff, So yeah.
I'm
Um,
like a kid in a candy store right now.
it's
So like,
so
wow,
funny.
this was. I didn't know I was right all along. I should have had this composition much sooner.
But also when we got into, and at the time I wasn't a writer, I was just like a little sister, kind of like, singing on to coattails. But they called me script coordinator. So I had to kind of wrangle comedians who were kind of, versioning superstars at the time into writing, scripts, whatever, collected. And then I ended up in front of the camera. But all to say, we didn't have the vocabulary for South African comedy. What we had seen in South Africa was not truly representative of us, of young Black South Africans mainly. There were other people of other races in in our troupe, but it was a very Black voice. Um, we were fans of obviously sketch comedy. We knew about Saturday Night Live. We knew about A Living Color. We knew about Monty Python. We loved British comedy was also like a big part of our lives. But I feel like we have similarities in kind of like the darkness of the comedy, so we knew the template and, we knew, but then we kind of had to make it up as we go. So I came up in comedy and as in writing, it was just comedy, even in directing, it was just comedy. So it's like, it's entrenched in me in a way that is kind of second nature. And maybe sometimes it trips me up, there'll be like serious stuff I have to write. And it's just like, you're like, yeah, you got it. you know, but sometimes I feel like I'm almost like it's a disability, but it's not. It's actually a strength because it makes quite dark things palatable as well. But I always forget this. I'd be like, but it's too funny. People are not gonna, they're not gonna, take it serious. Festivals are gonna, not like it because they don't like comedy. They'll tell you that they don't like comedy, whatever. But sometimes we're just kind of burdened with what we're burdened with, dark and funny things. So
Comedy and horror. I don't know what's wrong with festivals with those genres. They're like coming from working at the festival. I don't understand why they don't. And actually, that's the best. Those are the. I feel they're so close to human experiences. They're the
horror
closest.
is the best thing ever.
Yeah, you feel
Yes.
after. That's what develops into drama. That's what causes drama. So drama, which is what they put very high, on
Yeah.
their list, is actually sitting on these things, these
Mhm.
laughter. You're either crying or you're laughing, and these are the core. But it's weird. It's a
It's a
strange thing.
straight, yeah, and I don't, and maybe it's human nature. You're just like, oh, you're laughing, therefore it's not serious. So I don't know, yeah.
But let's talk
Hmm.
about your favorite films now. Here we
Mhm.
go. The real one. I hate doing this to you. I hate doing this to everyone actually who comes to the show, but something's gotta give. We might give one small sort of like maybe honorable mention, yeah, and at the end. But the top
Okay.
five,
I
that's
had,
that
I
you
had
gotta
to,
go for. So
I
in
had
no
to,
particular order, but it's up to you.
okay.
You can put
I
it
had
in
to,
order if you want and rate them.
preface this with with the fact that I don't believe in favor of anything.
Fair, fair.
Like if you said, who's your favorite musician? I'd be like, there is so much music.
Now that's crazy. That is, in fact, I
Holy,
never will do that.
that's the
I
same
would
thing.
never do that to anyone.
That's the
Actually, with
thing.
film as well, it's actually a bit unfair. I don't know
Yes.
why I'm doing it here because I know I will never do that in music at all. At all. I would not even attempt. I think it's more fun, I guess, because it gives
More
in
fun, yeah.
film, because there's more music and art in terms of sheer output than film. I think I stand corrected, but I just feel there's way more music, and it's just music is just crazy as well. It's quite a
Mm.
lot. But in film, there's this thing. Maybe I'm basing it on my experience, which I totally agree with you. By the way, there was like it's favorite of anything, especially in art. Yeah. Also, it changes with time, and also like, but I mean, but I've figured out that to say what my favorite is, well, my favorite in terms of films, it's a bit easier than music in my case because there's just films that I will play anytime again and again and again, and I'll never get tired of. So, and then I'm like, oh, I guess maybe that's what that means to
Oh,
be
I
favorite. I
see.
mean, also people,
Interesting.
but other people define favorites in different, like impacts in their lives and what, or a combination of, maybe they inspire them to do something, but for
Yeah.
me, because I also struggle. I just like have to find some metric, and usually that metric is like, okay, which film can I put right now?
Mm.
And if I play, I can watch it, and it's got that impact as well, the emotional resonance. And that for me is like straight away. Maybe I'm also a bit unfair to you because I've already thought about this a long time, and
Yes.
I've had this
Yes.
conversation with a lot of people, and I'm speaking this out for you. Do the right thing by Spike Lee for me is crazy. I just goes.
Crooklyn by Spike Lee is it's like my fave. I love Crooklyn. So that's definitely on my list. I love
Oh,
it.
yeah, the
Yeah.
soundtrack. I still have the soundtrack on CD. That's my favorite soundtrack.
Soundtrack.
Ooh. Yeah, that soundtrack is the Clockers, Crooklyn
Yeah.
for me. Clockers and
Crooklyn. Yeah, Crooklyn for me.
yeah, Malcolm X also. Come on, oh man, he's got
Yeah, but
banger.
it's all,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's got good soundtracks. He's
Yeah.
got good. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Crooklyn, okay. So okay, by Spike Lee. It's not in the top five, right? Okay, so we're starting top five. We're starting top five. And what do you like about Crooklyn? What makes
Uh,
it so important?
it's everything that I ever want to do in film. It captured a feeling of home that you have, and a feeling of blackness, and a feeling of the nuances of nothing and everything. I, it's just everything I ever want to do in film, especially in what we're talking about in telling stories about blackness. That it's not about and then whatever, or it's about a day in life, or there's grief hanging around. But there's so much life. I adore that film, all my heart. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's one of my favorites. I mean, Spike Lee. I was surprised at the latest stage in my life because I thought most people have grown up around Spike Lee, having seen actual Spike Lee films. And then I found out most of the peers of our peers actually they know of Spike Lee. I mean, because he's
Mm,
infiltrated popular culture. But not
mm,
many have actually really watched. Even people would say, "Hey, I mean, who are into film, we're into black films, into African films, who know Sam Ben and all this other
yeah,
stuff and all this." But then when you talk about Spike Lee, it's like, well, but have you watched? It's like, nah, we haven't. Even people who are into Pan African film or the films
mm,
of the diaspora, you find that they hadn't really gone. I don't know why that is. It's very interesting,
mm,
but they yeah, I find that yeah, that was kind of strange to me because I grew up with Spike. And also another great thing that inspired me that I really liked about Spike was I mean his age when he was doing all this crazy stuff like, and he
mm,
did crowdfunding also
yeah,
before crowdfunding was a thing for most
mm,
of his film, including
mm,
one oh my god, you know what? Let's not go into the details about Spike Lee because I mean we're forgetting even like there's Bamboozled, which is oh
yeah,
god,
that
that's a
bamboozle.
hit to the that stands the test to this day.
It's
Like
so
what he
good.
thought. Oh,
It's so
that's
good.
actually made me realize because I was 99 something like that 2000.
Mm,
That made me realize because I wasn't quite. I mean, I knew something was wrong with blackface and sort of
mm,
like what was going there's a famous actor in South Africa who's, capitalized on that,
yes,
white actor, I won't mention it. But
yes,
it even quite because in the townships, they're very popular,
yes,
these films are
even
very popular, but it didn't
yeah.
quite hit. And then when I took on the side, that's what was making me uneasy. That's what
Mm,
this is happening there. And oh my god, it's an insane I cried at the end of Bamboozled. Even at that young age, it was like when the soundtrack goes also that's one of the great actually I've done a cover of that soundtrack, when you asked earlier about whether I'm still making music. I've covered the Bamboozled theme, the end, and the show all those the montage with all those Oh yeah, I think it's a Terence Blanchard
Yes,
composition. No, I had
yes,
to. It was
yes.
my life goal. I had to learn instrument, learn to orchestrate, like learn the orchestration, just so I need to make that segment. Yeah, so it's actually on my Spotify. Yeah,
Like Lee's love for community and not just film community, but his community, Brooklyn. You know, there's something so endearing about it. Because you say Terence
that's like
Blanchard, yeah, Bed-Stuy,
40
and
acres of the mule,
you're
all
gonna
that. Yeah,
mule. There's so much archiving and legacy around the filmmaker, which is incredible. I think it's, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
it's amazing. Yes. Okay, I'm going from now on. I'm really have to rein it in on my end. I'm getting too excited. I'm overtaking this.
That's okay. I don't
So we got Crooklyn, and then number four.
I thought I kind of
Oh, sorry,
watched.
we're not
Oh, we're
putting
not
it in
ready.
the
It's
list. The
fine.
second one, yeah, second
Fourth
one, the
one,
second one, yeah.
I loved Cinema Paradiso, and I loved it. I loved again. Maybe I think I'm like a child. I don't know, like a.
So Cinema Paradiso specifically, what makes you
I think there was like a quite on the nose the idea that cinema and fantasy and imagination as emancipation is something so charming about this kid of a cinema in like a dire time in politically and in the world. And it's just so fucking touching, you know? But I think it's like a beautiful ode to cinema and its possibilities and its man, even just for an hour or two. You can escape and see the world or see the moon or, you know, be in another country. Yeah. The beautiful ode to cinema that stands the test of time, really, for me. Yeah. And I remember watching it quite young and then feeling like there's a world outside of Victoria.
this is when you use words like whiskey away. There's a reserve for those moments when you're whisked
Yes.
away.
Away. That a whimsical whatnot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was it. Great. And then number three,
Yo, I was thinking about this. Like the first time I saw the very first Jurassic Park. What? I'm sorry.
92, 93. That yeah,
Wow,
that one.
yo. And we had gone to my brother take me to the cinema, which I don't think I'd ever been. I think that was my first cinema experience. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, put dinosaurs on screen, guys. Our guys. Yo. No, no. Yes.
So it's when you saw the film, had you read the book then, or did you just also introduced to just
Anything,
the film as well?
anything. I mean, we just
Okay.
saw publicity. I was like, I
Yeah,
didn't do anything. I just,
yeah,
you know. But
yeah.
yeah, I was like, this is mind blowing. And in terms of the history of cinema and the advancement of just, mm,
The
ah,
technology that was there, that was
yes,
insane.
it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
insane. I'm sorry, it was
I
insane.
might be wrong, but I think that was Industrial Light and Magic or someone like that. I think
Yeah, but
who worked on that. I could be definitely wrong. I hate this podcast because people go back
people will
and
look and they're
and then
like,
they
oh,
go and like, oh no, but it was. But yeah, it was very early in their development as well. The company. I mean, I totally agree with you. It was mind blowing. And I think it was just coming off. I mean, that time, I know these films are much more separate. There's quite a lot of years separating them.
mm,
But for me, I had just also seen the 1970, I think it was 1970 something, the
mm,
Alien film, the first one. And I
yes,
had seen, of course, Star Wars was just like, I was obsessed with Star Wars
yes,
because all of
yes.
the things that were going on screen, I was like, whoa, this is
Look,
crazy.
and they
That's
got a, yo,
yeah. So then Jurassic Park comes. I'm like, "Whoa, what? This is insane. The world is amazing. What the heck is
yeah,
happening?" There's so much. No, that there's actually a documentary that was like that shows um how meticulous and how long that process was to animate those dinosaurs. Because I think it was the best of the computer graphics they had at the time, as well as
yeah,
animatronics. It was just the best of all the
mm.
technologies just thrown on screen at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Now that was really something. That's really
it
something.
is
Yeah,
quite a flex. But
and
I also think, yeah, it's interesting because we never really saw dinosaurs. You know what I mean? It wasn't like elephants or, you know, like it was completely like most of it was imagination and like skeletons, whatever. Yeah, I just thought in terms of story and cinema and technology and just boldness. I mean, it's Spielberg. You can't fault
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah. There's that shot. Just speaking of that, there's actually that shot where they're running in the planes. I was like, whoa, that's epic. I mean,
Yeah,
even to this day,
yeah,
it's
I mean,
like,
yeah,
yeah, 'cause then you see the I think the
yes,
Velociraptors or whatever they're called,
yes.
those the Asia one. But
Those, yeah,
that
those
was
are
just yeah, that's when you're like, as a film, that's the magic of cinema. I hate that's a cliche, but yeah,
mm,
when you're like, wow, okay, now they just flexing. Okay,
no,
they're just flexing on you, like, how far
exactly.
could we take
Yeah,
you? If you don't, this is great. Yes, it's great what we're doing.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, more. We can,
yeah.
So that's three, and then four.
I remember watching. Let me just say, I really love and basketball.
You're just taking me back there. I was trying to avoid all of this. Like, oh my god, yeah, Love and Basketball is really great.
You,
Love and Basketball is really great. Whenever
yeah,
I think of Love and Basketball as well, I always think of. I know it's a much later film. I think it was actually for me. It's the last of that era of films because it was like late 2002, 2001, and
mm,
that was Brown Sugar. I think Brown Sugar is
yeah,
the end of those type of films, Love and
yeah.
Basketball, Basketball
Yeah,
Joe, all these other ones.
yes.
Yeah,
I
it was.
love, yeah.
Yeah, after that, we never got those type of
No,
love
it's gone.
stories, black
Apparently,
love stories with good soundtracks.
I mean, I think when I read up on it, the studios were really convinced that these films work for Black audiences. So that crop of films was like kind of funded, whatever. And I don't know what happened. They stopped making them. They said we're pivoting.
Yeah,
They
because
did.
if you look at them, they're actually extremely well made. They are not your typical rom-coms.
Mm,
I mean, I would put even the one with Poetic Justice, and there were so many, all of them. They're
mm.
really well-made films. They're not just rom-com. Hey, not belittling the rom-com
Yeah.
subgenre, of course, which I love, but they're not just like, and also they're not like a Tyler Perry sort of thing that followed afterwards and just became, and also like it's not like a derivative sort of black
Puppy.
love thing that we kind of get recently now, like, oh, everything just looks all, they had a little bit of an I would even group films like even made by even Singleton, like which were not necessarily like the um
Boys in the
Boys in the Hood
Hood.
has a very
Yeah.
strong, because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, love interest linked in there. And it has social commentary that's very deep. They were way
Mm-hmm.
deeper than how they were very well made films. And pity how they sort of like went away, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we do have, of course, some black films being made, but they're not quite
Mm-hmm.
hitting the same vein.
No.
I think we're last two or last one.
That's
I've
two, I
lost
think.
track.
That's two.
Yeah, I think you're gonna cheat, Caro. I'm sure it's last one. Let's be
That's
let's
one.
take it up.
1, 2, 3, 4. Your viewers are gonna be like, oh, where's the first one? I'm
This
helping
guy
you.
can't even count.
Yes. No. I need to add this about these top fives because what you said about growing up in the township and having to now catch up to cinema, really, and having to catch up to world cinema, right? But when you're in the criterion, when you're in the band, they're like, choose your masters. And you know what I mean? There's always like this sophistication about your palette. Like, did you read those lists of best what? Scorsese? I'm like, there's a cultural gap here that we don't account for. I don't mind it, but there's like a ranking of, cinema.
The problem with me with those lists, I sometimes just go through them because complete as well. I just want to have,
Yeah.
information when I talk about film. Most of the time, especially the ones with Scorsese and the Western filmmakers, the Francis Ford Coppolas and everyone, you go and you're like, okay, I get why he liked it because, of course, he grew up with Americana stuff. He grew
Yeah.
up on it. It's great. Okay, but in the list, maybe you'll get like if it's a top 10, maybe eight are like really good. The other ones are like, okay, good. I get it. And some of them just exist there because of they're important because of some technique they introduced to cinema. There's overall they're not really great films, but also they from straight white male most of the time they lean a lot towards they're very bland and like okay, we get why you got into it and you like this sort of film and it's very much your thing and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, It's
Mhm.
not as, yeah. So I totally agree with you. Sometimes I wouldn't mind elitism if it was introducing bangers, real bangers. Now, sometimes it's just not bangers. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, I'm just going through that because I have to. Because if I speak to someone and I don't know the stuff, they will like, but also just to do due diligence, you need to
Yes,
kind of like
absolutely.
know your stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
I totally agree. Some of this is like,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think we have to talk about cultural reference in terms of rating films, because it resonates with you. It's good because it speaks to you. But for me, I'm an outsider. Is it good? I'm sure it's good, but am I going to be like, this is the best thing you've ever watched? Or, yeah.
Of
But,
course not. Which again, and more people will be like, oh no, they will argue saying, oh no, but sometimes, you don't need to be an insider. That some of the
yeah.
powerful, the one of the powers, of, the power of film is actually one of the benefits of film, and the power of film is that they can introduce you to a world that you normally but be a part of, which I totally agree with. But if it's not good, it's just not good. Like I
Yeah.
know there's a film, like if we talk about, of course, as much as we're as we are black, we talk about something that's happening in Brooklyn or whatever. It's a film
Yeah.
that's done very well. It's in LA. If it places you there, then it's great. If you're
Mhm.
watching a Croatian film and you feel
Mhm.
like, okay, you're in that small village somewhere and it places you there, that's good. But it's not because now someone will say, hey, they tell you it's good, and then because they were born there, maybe it resonates with them. It's a different
Mhm.
thing than when it's really, really will transport you. And those moments are much rarer when a film is that good that you are now, okay, I get it. You are
Yeah.
there. I just started watching Citizen Kane now because I've been putting it off for, oh my God, for the longest. I'm like, okay, I liked also was Louis M for Mystery or something Mystery. There was another one he
Yeah.
made. That was cool because he was playing a trick on the audience. I'm like, okay, and most of these American, oh my word, my podcast is not going to be played in the US. Thank you.
No,
Karabo Lediga.
they're not gonna
Definitely I'm
choose
not going to
me.
get it in the US.
No, I
Yeah, all this
mean,
is Kane right there. And I'm like, man,
no, they
I
love it.
like the character
Yeah.
and what he's done. Yeah. And it's like, yeah.
See, Hitchcock is great. I love all of Hitchcock. I think Hitchcock is a great
Yeah, I've got
designer.
the box set. Okay, Hitchcock is got some cool stuff. Okay, so we have two left, correct?
Two left. I'll say Bong Joon-ho's Mother. I like Parasite, but I really like Mother.
I love Parasite. I will put
Mm,
Parasite at number 3 or 2 of
mm,
his
mm,
all-time, like number 3 or 2, yeah.
mm.
But Mother, come on
Come
now,
on, Mother. Hey, Mother, come
come
on.
on.
That lead actor, Mother herself, Mother. Yo, she brings it. Yeah, Mother brings it. It's just
Mother I can watch again, actually.
no,
Even
yeah, that
knowing
yeah,
how complicated that story becomes at the end, it was
exactly.
just like, and her
Yeah,
emotion and her motives,
you
bit dubious.
Mother.
Of course,
Yeah,
mother's love, I guess,
yeah,
but whew, oh, she protects. Hey, we're giving things. Let's not give
yeah. That's not
away
giveaway.
storylines and plots. Yeah, but spoil people. Spoil it for people. But yeah, definitely. I agree totally.
Yeah,
Number one for me
yeah,
as well for Bong Joon Won, and
yeah.
that's a
So
tough one because Bong Joon Ho is he's got
great.
bangers.
No, Bang has been
I think
yeah.
he made the new one, what, Mickey 17 or something. I need to still
17.
watch
Yeah,
that. I I feel it's close to the other one he made, which is also very low to in my
the one
rankings, which
in
was
the ship, the one in the ship or something. The one.
no, no, yes, there's Park Chan Woon,
Yes,
I think.
yeah.
No, there was one with
The pink.
it's got it's got two locals, man, the European actress,
Tilda. No, Tilda's not
Tilda.
here. Tilda, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the same one they talk about.
I
Yeah,
think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe it's maybe I don't remember. I was like,
I think he plays
because I
this.
don't want to say no because I want everyone to support him as well. Because also Korean cinema
Yeah.
wasn't that big, and then just getting it. So I don't want to be like, no, it's the. But I'm doing the phrase.
Is it the one that was
I want to say
Okja?
something.
Is it Okja?
Oh, yeah, oh,
Yeah,
God.
Okja. Yeah, I thought it was cute. I thought it was.
I
Yeah,
wanted so much to love it. I was like, I feel like Nikki Service is gonna be like it, but let's see.
I think
Let's
so.
watch
Yeah,
it.
I
I
think
haven't had a chance to
it's
see it.
like that.
Mother, come on, come on. Your taste is amazing. All right, let's go. And then the
No,
last one, we can go on for like a whole dedicated whole hour on mother and
on
yeah, I
Mother.
don't.
Yeah,
But anyway, let's not.
I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I love that. Um,
yeah. That
I
opening
have
sequence
to.
as well in the field, and she's like
Yes,
that
the
because you
field and
never
the
know what she's
yeah,
doing, and then you
but-
understand as the film
and
goes.
the
Like, oh
cop and the
gosh,
yeah, it was really good. It was
uh,
really really good.
yes. And
Again,
then
like yeah, I didn't have to be South Korean, whatever Korean to know to resonate or for that. You know what I mean? It's a good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what South Korea talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. South Korean directors actually, Park
Woo!
Chan Wook as well.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are very good at
yeah, yeah.
that. You're able to, and it's actually a much more foreign culture to
Yeah,
than
it's
even
so.
the Western stuff because
Mm-hmm.
we're always inundated by that.
But
But we are
also,
able to latch on to that and understand and get
and
get what they're talking about.
they also don't do genre in the Western way. Like they don't. They
Exactly.
just
It's
yeah,
not.
they
Yeah.
break it. They do
Not
whatever they want. Yeah,
definitely not dry. It's a different. This
yeah.
is why as well you have to also push for African cinema and storytelling to go because we also have our ways, which I think now we kind of stuck from time to time. We do break out of it, but it's very rare. We're being stuck in this template of Western. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you switch on television now, it's just like that. It's full of that sort
Look,
of stuff.
yeah.
The template,
Mm,
the Western template. It's Africa, but
mm-hmm.
fitted in a in a Western type of template. But I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to, because we also have a way of telling stories that is
Literally.
very unique, like the other cultures that are not Western. And I think we need to tap more into that,
Mm-hmm.
and actually, than just like, hey, it's just made in Africa and be excited with that, and that's it. No, it has to
Mm,
be. There's a way we tell that's different. We don't think of genre in the same way as the
mm-hmm.
Westerners that need to really tap into that. I think they've done an excellent job. The Japanese, most of the Asian
Yeah.
countries as well.
Most
They do
yeah.
Japanese guys. They do amazing work as well there. The Takashi Miike's, everyone. But okay,
Mm.
last one.
This is I wanted to before I'll stop now, but I wanted to add on to the genre question because I've asked myself what my cinematic language is, right? As somebody who is colonized, recolonized, and somebody who on American TV, you know what I mean? So I wondered what this animal looks like. One that's like got all those patches of kind of like American rump. The way I learned English was through TV. So the way I learned TV making and cinema is also through TV, I mean, through American TV. So I wondered what that South African or my cinematic language is. Could mimic that, but it could subvert it, but it'll have that. But it could own it and then kind of throw it back at you. But I think we're afraid to be quite honest about our coloring. You know what I mean? Yeah.
While you are talking, I've realized something, and I think it's a very good point that you raise,
Mm,
Karabo. Um, I think there's parallels. Specifically, I would say less so with South Korean directors, but more the Japanese directors because they love American culture. You see,
sure.
they're kind of like also grow up like us. They love, but when they do the cinema, that parts, of course, of the lexicon of American cinema is in them, but they're able to push when they make their stuff. It's unique. It doesn't have, but you can see it's got the DNA of they grow up. I think they're more actually. Most people don't talk about this. I think the Japanese like love American culture even more than Africans because
No,
it's
they
a whole
do.
thing there. It's a
No, they do.
whole
Yeah,
thing there.
yeah
Yeah.
they
So
do.
but they're able when they make their films not to
Mm,
be under that strict Western sort of way of I think
mm,
that's what
mhm,
we can look at in sense of like, oh, we can do it this way, be
mhm,
influenced partly by this, like you're
mhm,
mentioning this animal, this leopard, with all the spots, but at the same
mhm.
time have a very strong African identity coming forward. I think that could be it. Hopefully we reach that time, we reach that in our lifetimes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So
the
and
last
then
one,
Carol, the final one. Mhm.
the last one. This is a nod to comedy, a nod to comedy writers to sketch animals. This film kind of blew my mind. I have to say Get Out. Get Out blew my like Jordan Peele, just what he did, his trajectory of having watched Key and Peele and having watched him get into Get Out.
Yeah, Get Out is something else. Get Out is something
Yeah.
else. Get Out is Get Out in the last 10 years, in terms
Mhm.
of black film,
Yeah.
that was ooh, that was up. And then unfortunately it spawned again a whole lot of because
Yeah.
there's been like the like copies of that now where
Horror, whatever it is.
fear
Yeah.
black
Mm.
fear now
Yeah.
is used as a as a
Yeah.
horror device, the
Yes.
fear of racism, and now
That's
it's
the
like
thing. Yeah. And and
yeah.
and the horror head,
And you're like,
the
man,
no man. Yeah,
yeah.
because there's a
No,
thing.
yeah, it's this is not this is not what we wanted.
No,
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 no.
no. Because
You
I'm
know what
always
I
like,
mean?
what's the horror element? What's the fear? It's such a thing in the best horrors. What's the fear? What are you saying about it? So
Yeah,
yeah.
because I mean, there was so many after that. And there was
Mm-hmm.
us, there was them, there was
Them,
the other
them.
films
Yeah.
that were made, the series. And
Mm-hmm.
then I found that after a while, it never became about now what exactly Get Up was about.
Mm-hmm.
Now it was sort of like a fetishization of this, and I believe that the race that was supposed to be critiqued for that they did was
Mm-hmm.
starting to enjoy
Mm-hmm.
this fast now, and it became like okay now.
So when I watch, I just feel bludgeoned with violence. So what's the point? So I'm just watching the point because you're not making social commentary. You're just bludgeoning. You're just like, I can't watch this.
Definitely Get Out, highly rated. I also believe it's one of the best. It was definitely robbed of the Oscar that time, but not that Oscar mattered that much. But I felt like definitely was well worth the win. And I forgot even which film won that year, but I know it missed the
So I
Oscar.
remember he just won for the screenplay. As a writer, I was like, yes, that's what I was
Oh,
just.
did you win for the screenplay?
He won
Yeah.
for the screenplay. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
not for best film. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay, that's great. I don't
yeah.
know
He won.
which
That's
one,
the
but
only award they got. Yeah.
yeah, man. It's a beautiful. And I think for Get Out, you could have only done that once. I don't think it could be replicated because the evidence is what is happening afterwards now in the wake of that. People trying to replicate it. And there's
Yeah.
even white directors now doing a Get Out
Mhm.
esque sort of thing. And then I'm like, hold up. No,
It gets dark, eh?
before I end the call, maybe if you want to just mention something maybe to the audience about like if any of this current work that you're doing or something that you are currently working on that you'd like to share. Yeah, and then we can wrap it up after that.
I guess the one thing that's top of mind is my first feature film, Sabbatical, which had its world premiere at the International Film Festival Rotterdam about a month ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was very well received. It's kind of a love letter to Black African mother-daughter relationships. Twisted, funny, uncomfortable, dark, and examined really in between mother daughters and by storytellers. So it'll be a Mother's Day offering in cinema. Day. I will post about it and the marketing will follow. But I do think that it'd be nice for Black women to watch a very nuanced, subtle representation of lives. So yeah, I'm very proud of the work. But yeah.
Definitely. I'm also looking forward to it. I saw a little bit of some snippets about like online about it. Like, I actually even saw the poster for it as well. So I'm really, it looks really great. And please, when it's ready, you can just like also shout out. And so we can also just spread the word because we really need to get more people seeing our stories, a specific type of story that I feel that is
Yeah.
underrepresented and that needs to be seen. Yeah. So thank you so much again. I think Karabo, this was one of my favorite episodes. It was really insightful and enjoyable. And and to our audience and listeners, please join us on the next Supernormal Film Society episode. And and any last words before we end?
Thank you for watching this. And thank you for loving film. Please love African films and South African films. Love us into existing and into lasting and into archiving our stories. We need people to watch our stories. Yeah. Keep watching it.